Have you ever wondered how big is USA actually? Well, in this video, you're gonna find out. Let's react.
The United States is currently the world's sole superpower with military installations around the world. As a country, its geography spans from subtropical forests to rolling plains, scorching deserts, and Arctic wastes. But just how big is the US really in comparison to the rest of the world? Hello and welcome to another episode of the Infographic Show. Today, we're taking a look at how big the US really is. The US is approximately 5,680,000 square miles, with terrain
I don't know much about square mileage, but it sounds a lot, and probably it's a lot. A lot.
that varies dramatically. Only Russia at 10.6 million square miles and Canada at 6,205,000 square miles are larger than the US. Its three biggest states, Alaska at 663,000 square miles, Texas at 270,000 square miles, and California at 160,000 square miles.
What? Texas is bigger than California? How is that possible? If you look at the map, it looks like the California is so long, and it creates this feeling that California is bigger than Texas, but I was wrong.
Combined would be the 17th largest nation in the world, immediately after Sudan at 1.15 million square miles, and right before Libya at 1 million square miles. In total, the US is larger.
Yeah, but let's not forget Sudan and Libya, they have a lot of deserts, okay? That's like, we need to take this in consideration when compare it.
Than the 107 smallest countries in the world combined. With about 327 million people, the United States is also the third most populated nation on Earth, having a total of 4.28% of the total world population. With a net yearly migration rate of approximately 900,000 people, the US is by far the one place the rest of the world wants to live, with Germany coming in second at 350,000 migrants, and Turkey in third with 325,000 migrants. In the US, 83
I won't lie, I would love to live in USA for a bit at least, and maybe in future I will. Who knows? You never know. Because the USA is land of opportunities. It's land of opportunities, no doubt about that.
3% of the population lives in cities, with its three most populated cities being New York City with 8.5 million people, Los Angeles with 4 million people, and Chicago with 2.7 million people. All combined, the population of the US's three biggest cities is equal to the population of Chad with 14.5 million people. Just these three cities alone are also more populated than Cuba with 11.5 million people, Belgium with 11.3 million people, and Greece with 11.2 million people. When counting the greater metropolitan area, New York City is the 10th largest city in the world, with a total population of 18.6 million people, just behind Cairo with 18.8 million people.
How it's possible that so much people can fit into New York? It's crazy to imagine that in New York's districts there are population of like 2 million, 1 million, let's say, let's take Brooklyn or something, 2 million. This is crazy for me. This is like whole amount of people that live in my country. We have in Latvia, we have 1.8 million people living here, okay?
And just ahead of Dhaka with 17.6 million people. This would make the greater New York City area the 63rd largest country in the world, just ahead of Syria with 18 million people. The U.S. is the world's largest economy with a gross domestic product of $20.4 trillion, or 23.3% of the total global economy. China is just behind the U.S. at $14 trillion and 16.1% of the total global economy. When measured by purchasing power parity, or the price of goods and services versus individual incomes, the U.S. comes at number 2 to China, whose GDP PPP is $25.2 trillion. This means that while the Chinese economy is about 30% smaller than the US's, Chinese individuals have on average 20% greater purchasing power in their own country. The three biggest economies within the U.S. states are California with a GDP of $2.6 trillion, Texas with a GDP of $1.6 trillion.
If I'm not wrong, Texas has oil, so that's like a unbeatable state, unbeatable. The craziest thing about the USA is when you travel from one coast to another coast, you will find a lot of people who are different culture, maybe speak different languages, have different world views, and still it's one country. And still they are Americans. How crazy is that?
and New York with a GDP of 1.5 trillion. Altogether, these three states would be the world's third largest economy, just ahead of Japan with a GDP of $5 trillion. California's economy alone is as big as the United Kingdom's, Texas's is as big as Canada's, and New York's is as big as South Korea's. The United States also has the
Wow.
best equipped military in the world, though it's only the third largest at 1,282,000 active duty personnel, ahead of
Well, but still, USA Army is ahead of the game because you guys put a lot of money inside to develop the army, to develop the technologies. I don't like what is happening right now between Europe and USA. This is very bad for our relationship. There is so much enemies around us, and in my opinion, we don't have to fight each other. We need to be friends. There's no need to fight USA and Europe.
it are India with 1.4 million active duty personnel and China with 2.1 million active duty personnel. The US spends over $610 billion on its military every year, or 3.1% of its total GDP. 35% of the world's total military expenditure, and more than the next 9 nations combined. Just behind it are China with $150 billion in expenditures and Saudi Arabia with $76 billion in expenditures. The United States also has the most military bases in the most foreign countries in the world, with approximately 800 military installations in 80 countries, possibly more military bases in more foreign lands than any nation or empire in history.
There are even bases here in Latvia, Riga. So this is, I would say, outside the main city of Riga, But there's not only Americans over here, but there's also Canadians, Spanish people, Spanish soldiers, and soldiers from other NATO members, which is great. They make us feel a bit safer, against the Russian threat. It's kind of hard to live under a huge aggressive bear, sometimes.
Cost of maintaining these bases alone is about $156 billion, more than China spends on its entire military. On the civilian side, the U.S. has the world's third largest police force, with 913,000 total police officers, placing it just behind India at number 1 with 1.9 million police officers, and China with 1.6 million police officers. In the realm of healthcare,
Yeah, but in USA, it's so much dangerous to work as a police officer, especially in states where people carry guns. And I think it's like all the states have. Correct me if I'm wrong in comment section, please. But as far as I'm concerned, like you can carry guns in every state. And as a policeman, my gosh, I cannot imagine what kind of stress they are going through. Can get shot on duty, That's it. Here in Europe, it's safe to be a policeman. The baddest thing in Latvia that will happen to you as a policeman, somebody will swear on you.
the U.S. is the most expensive nation on earth, with a health expenditure per capita of $10,350, placing it ahead of Switzerland at $7,900 and Germany at $5,550. While on average the rest of the world spends about 10.3% of its GDP on healthcare, the U.S. spends 18% of its GDP on healthcare. The United
That's kind of interesting. I heard before that in USA you need to have insurance because the medical bills are really high over there. I even heard about a story that happened in New York. Emergency car accidentally hit a bicycle driver. Then they put him into the back, drove him to the hospital, and after they gave him a bill of 60,000. Of course, he went to court and won, and the hospital paid the money back and paid the compensation also. But this is a crazy story.
United States is a large, complex nation, big enough to host several different distinct accents within its own borders. Its people are hardworking and industrious, leading the world's economy. But despite what recent political events might indicate, they're also the most welcoming nation in the world, with 3 times the number of immigrants than nations in either the number 2 or number 3 spot in a global comparison.
Why do you think that USA has one of the most hard-working people on the earth. But if we talk about the scale of USA as a European, it's hard to grasp and understand the size of the of your continent, yes, of your country, because especially if when you come from a small country like Latvia, literally Latvia can fit into Texas maybe 10 times, something like that. Imagine how small my country is. And when we talk about such a huge countries like USA, it blows my mind how different it is and how much culture of different countries you have over there mixed in. This is something from another universe, you know. So thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, click the bell for notifications. See you next reaction videos. Let's go.